How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Dish podcast here at the Iowa State Daily. Like always, I'm Brett Twellmeyer, the sports editor, and I'll be your host, and I'll have my co-hosts introduce themselves.
What's up, guys? Assistant sports editor Pavel Markovic back with you for another episode.
Hi, I'm Katie Schaefer, sports reporter.
Well, we had the Cy-Hawk games this past couple days. The women and the men both went on the road. The women's team led for quite a while, just didn't have it in the end. Iowa wins that one. The men were kind of the opposite. They trailed a lot, got it in the end. They take the win. We'll start on the women's side with things. We'll kind of just dive right in here. Katie, you were there for the women's game. Just what did you see from that one, just from kind of like the whole game perspective?
From the whole game perspective, this game was definitely a lot. The whole environment was crazy in general. I think the count, like the people count, came to exactly 14,998, which is crazy. We lost, 75 to 69. This was a very intense game. I wasn't going in thinking we were going to win, to be completely honest, but I had my hopes throughout the first half. I think the last couple minutes is when it all took a turn, and we just completely did a 180 and just dropped.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised with how well Iowa State defended Iowa. Really, in kind of the first three quarters, it felt like, but especially the first, considering that they did lead after the first quarter 20-17. I thought Lucy Olson was really on it in this game, but they did enough for a long time to kind of keep Iowa down, it felt like.
I know. I was impressed by Iowa State's. We had 21 turnovers, which is crazy to me. But no, I think Iowa did great defensively. They tried a lot of different rotations and lineups, which you could definitely say was very helpful for them in a way. I think Audie was great. She had 31 points, 10 rebounds. But their change in defense players against her was definitely took a toll on her. I think they put center Ava Hayden, I think is how you pronounce her name. And she's 6'4", and that was definitely a big challenge for her. Yeah,
I think that having matchups like that for Audie is really, we've talked about this last year too, it's really going to help benefit her once Big 12 play comes along. Just having an opponent like Iowa, especially on the road, it's, again, just going to do nothing but benefit this team, having seen players like her.
Yeah, no, and I think they tried a bunch of different things. They ended up double teaming her and triple teaming her, but she's just so good that she can maneuver past that and she can score buckets. So, but having Ava in was definitely a challenge.
Yeah, and Audie, again, just down low, that presence that she has on the offensive side of things, 14 for 22 shooting. I think it's crazy how often she is able to shoot over 50%. Bill talks about it too. He said in media today being Friday, with the whole Kenzie Hare being out situation, I was kind of like, does this maybe mean that the front court's going to be a little bit more involved? And he said, I don't know how much more involved Audie can really be.
Yeah, no, she's, not to diminish any other players, but she is a leader for our team.
Yeah, 31 points just kind of speaks for itself. It's, again, crazy that she's able to do this night in and night out. The one thing where she and really the rest of the team did struggle, though, was from the free throw line. That's kind of where the game was lost, I felt like.
I completely agree. We had so many opportunities and nothing could stick. I think Elisa Williams was the only one who could make 2 out of 2. Emily Ryan hit a couple, but Audie, she had so many opportunities and she just couldn't sink any. She maybe sunk a couple, but it was kind of done at that point.
Yeah, and you can see in the free throw differential, not even just for Iowa State, but for Iowa too. You saw the fourth quarter, the whole swing right there. They made 8 out of their 11 attempts. They forced the attempt to try and drive and get fouls, which they did successfully doing. Those 8 points right there is swing, because right there you only lost by 6 points, and they scored 22 in the fourth quarter. So, it's really pivotal from at least a defensive standpoint. I know you're talking about offensively. Audie Crooks, obviously, really good player, but the one flaw that she has is her free throws, because it was pretty abysmal on Wednesday.
No, and Fenley has mentioned that it's one of our biggest struggles, and it's definitely going to harm us if we don't get it right and when we go into the Big 12.
Yeah, I felt like it was an area of concern last year too, and it really hasn't fixed a whole lot, I feel like, this year. But at the same time, not a whole lot of other players really getting to the line. Like, Audie shot 10 of the 16 free throws. So maybe now it's going to be like starting to challenge other players to probably drive, take some hits, try and draw some fouls and get to the line that way maybe.
No, and I also know that they mentioned early on that three-pointers was something they really wanted to work on too. And I definitely have seen improvement on that, but free throws are where it's at. Like, I think if we made so many more of those shots, it would have been such a closer game, and I don't think we would be having the discussion that they lost.
True, yeah. From three-point range, though, like you're talking about, they did, I thought, step up in that game. They were 7 for 15. In the past few games, they really hadn't shot it well from three at all. Addie Brown was really the leader from outside, and she had struggled in games past, so it was kind of nice to see her be able to step up and hit from the perimeter in this game.
No, I completely agree. In the past couple games, she has almost made all of her threes. I think she went 3 for 3 for this game. And every time she hits a three, it's either buzzer beater, she does it under pressured situations. It's just such a pivotal moment for the game when she makes those. Yeah,
it really that like clutch gene kind of taken over for her. Yeah, pivotal moments.
Yeah, and I think all three of her threes were in the first quarter too. Yeah. I was looking through the play-by-play. At least all three of her she had 3 of 4 attempts, but still made all 3 of her successful attempts in the first quarter, which is obviously integral. And those are only 3 that were made from Iowa State in that first quarter, which obviously got them up by 3.
Yeah, and not to say Iowa didn't make any three-pointers. They definitely did. They just didn't execute it as well. But I think when they did make 3 points, it came at such great moments, and the crowd there was so uplifting about it that it made the game just like so much worse.
That really kind of was evident in the men's game too. It felt like that very two similar games, just kind of with different outcomes. I felt like, like you're talking about, Addie did hit all 3 of her three-pointers in the first quarter. I think it's interesting too that all of them were assisted by different players. Ariana Jackson assisted on one, Kelsey Jones assisted on a second one, and then Audie Crooks assisted on another one. And I think that's interesting because Audie Crooks, I feel like, again, all around the best player on the team. Her ability to score, get rebounds, but I think what's overlooked is her ability to dish the ball around and get those assists like that.
No, and I think what also surprised me was Emily Ryan is so known for her assisting.
Yep.
And it kind of lacked, like she only had 8. And not to say they weren't beneficial, but she's been relying more on shooting. And really early on that you could tell that she wasn't making her baskets, and she couldn't get around the defense that was presented. So she laid more on assisting and defense. And so, yeah, it kind of shocked me.
She's been interesting, I'd say, to say the least, to start the year. Emily Ryan has.
Yeah.
She has been scoring, yes, but at the same time, I just don't feel like her assists are where they need to be at this point in the game, or at this point in the season, actually. And you talk about those 21 turnovers that Iowa State had. 9 of those were from Emily Ryan, so it was probably just an off game for her, but it definitely an alarming statistic, to say the least.
And I think, obviously the turnovers were, I feel like, another part of the game that was kind of blown out of proportion in this, having I think Emily Ryan led with 9 turnovers in this game. We talked about her playmaking abilities, but she was really sloppy with the ball at times. Obviously Iowa's defense played a big part in that because, they were able to trap certain players and force these turnovers, because I know we kind of talked about, I think, in the last Daily Dish podcast previewing the Cy-Hawk matchup, how Iowa struggled against a good Tennessee team, and they kind of replicated that against Iowa State, which is, ran to perfection, forcing 21 total turnovers compared to only 9 from Iowa, and only 5 came from one player, which is Hannah Stolke. So, it's a big issue on Wednesday, and obviously couldn't perfect it throughout the game, which was a part of their downfall.
I think another part that kind of, we talked about how Iowa State has had these tough matchups. South Carolina, Iowa, UConn is yet to come. But they've been getting these teams at very unfortunate moments, because South Carolina lost its first game of the season right before playing Iowa State, and they stomped the Cyclones. Iowa lost its first game of the season right before they played Iowa State, and they came back to beat the Cyclones. Now, UConn, we're looking ahead a little bit, but UConn's coming up. They just lost to Notre Dame. So it's kind of rough, but I feel like it's good that they're kind of having these adverse challenges too.
No, I completely agree. I think it's going to completely prepare them more.
Yeah, because I think UConn lost on the road at Notre Dame too, and I think I'm not sure if South Carolina's first loss was on the road. I can't remember. I think was it on the road against UCLA?
I feel like it was. I don't think that they lose at home.
I know Iowa's was against at Tennessee, but obviously,
I think that was it a neutral site or was it at Tennessee?
It might have been neutral site. I'm not sure though. But regardless, obviously these teams coming back from different sites and having to come back, they're going to be playing with the vengeance, and it's unfortunate how Iowa State is right next on the schedule. I know UConn does play Georgetown before they play Iowa State, so luckily they don't have to get as much of the force as Georgetown's about to get. So, but obviously, it's going to probably be more about the same of what we saw against South Carolina in terms of what UConn will bring, just because of the fact that they are not used to losing.
I do expect Iowa State to come out Sunday in its next game kind of on rails, though, because after the loss to South Carolina, Iowa State dominated its next game. After the loss to UNI, Iowa State dominated its next game. They have been very, very good in games after losses, but granted, those have been home games against lesser opponents, games that they should win by a lot, and they have, so they're kind of just taking care of business. But at the same time, it's kind of just that ability to get back on track and get back in the win column, honestly.
No, and I think they all want to win so bad that they're so focused on fixing all those little mistakes, like all the little details, which I think comes in handy.
Totally. I just feel like the way that the schedule is shaping up, they're going to be very prepared for Big 12 play.
Yeah.
We saw it last year that they started off hot in Big 12 play, they hit a dip, then they kind of righted it. That might happen again this year, just the way that they battled with Iowa. That's a tough Iowa team. Yeah. I was shocked that, to start the season, they weren't ranked. Now they are. They are getting the credit that they do deserve. I mean, Lucy Olson is going to be one of the top players in the country this year.
And I think she's Caitlin Clark reincarnated for this Hawkeye team. And I was kind of surprised because I thought this would kind of be like a retool year. I know they lost their coach because Caitlin left, and then obviously the loss of Caitlin. I thought it was going to be a different year. I didn't know how Lucy Olson was going to turn out with this team, but she's picking up right where she left off, where she was with Villanova, and it's kind of helped them along the way. And just talking about Iowa State, I know you talked about how before the UConn game they get to host Eastern Illinois. They're not really a great team. They're only 3-5 right now, so it's going to be really nice to come back home, get a kind of refreshing win, and like you said, Katie, kind of retool some things before heading to Connecticut. Yeah,
you got to give a lot of credit to the Iowa program. Just what Jan Jensen has been able to do here in her first year as head coach. I mean, she's been there for 2 decades now, so she obviously knows the program. She knows how to take care of it, and I think that they're going to be in very good hands. Iowa is going to be a national threat for years to come with her at the helm.
No, I agree. I think they're great at promoting women's basketball.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this game itself, I think, is what every women's basketball game should encapsulate. You have stars on both ends. You have long-tenured coaches. You have fan bases that care about the game, that sold out the game. There were more fans at the women's game than the men's game. And I just think that having atmospheres like that, having games like this one that are close, that are competitive, that are spirited, it's going to do nothing but good for women's basketball, and it's nice to see.
100%.
So then kind of going over to the men's side, again, the men's game was kind of the opposite, I felt like, of the women's game. Iowa dominated this game for 35 minutes, and then right at the end, Iowa State just took over. They made their shots. They locked in on defense. And for the first time since 2014, Iowa State wins the Cy-Hawk game in Carver-Hawkeye Arena.
About time.
Yeah, about time. Last time they did it, it was the game where Georgia Yang blew the kiss to the crowd. Oh, yeah. And everybody called it the Carver curse, but 10 years later, a whole decade had to pass by. T.J. Otzelberger and the Cyclones took care of business, broke the curse.
Finally, yeah. I mean, I remember last time TJ was at Carver-Hawkeye, it didn't go so great. The Iowa State team, we thought we're going to come out in front, finally break that curse, but ended up did not. But this time, more of the same, I feel like. Obviously, in the first half, obviously, Iowa did not seem like they missed a shot. They found a lot of open looks. I feel like Iowa State was main goal to try and trap people by the half-court line, just trying to trap them and force them to bad passes and turnovers, which they kind of did, I say, in this game, just to force turnovers. But, it left wide-open shots because they had to keep forcing 2 guys on 1 guy, and ended up leading to a lot of threes for sure, just because of the amount that they put up. And, it was just bad from the start. I know Iowa State tried to keep trying to answer for their threes, but it didn't matter because, Iowa State tried to go more inside and shoot deeper in the first half. But, obviously didn't matter in the end. But first half, it was kind of a blunder from defensive side, I'd say.
It really felt like a typical Cy-Hawk game.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State dominates inside. Iowa scores from outside, makes literally everything they threw up. I mean, they could not miss for the first 10, 15 minutes. It was ridiculous. And doing all that, the fact of the matter, though, is Iowa State trailed by 13 at the most in this game, and that was in the first half, I believe. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they were able to keep the lead relatively close, sort of, throughout the first half and only trail by 7 at halftime, I thought that was a huge win in the moment because it felt like the way that Iowa was playing, the way they were scoring, the way that they were forcing turnovers, too, in Iowa State. Both teams turned it over 9 times, which isn't a crazy number to say, but nonetheless, they both did turn it over. And the crowd was in it a lot, too. I mean, the crowd was nuts the entire game. But the fact that Iowa State stuck with it and went into halftime down only that deficit, just a couple possessions, I thought was the biggest key to the game. They didn't let it get out of hand, really.
Oh, yeah. And obviously, kind of talk about this a little bit later, but I credit Carver-Hawkeye Arena to try and capture that noise inside the stadium. I mean, it was
loud.
It was deafening.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Even just the intensity that these fans brought. I know it's obviously a good amount of Cyclone fans in Carver-Hawkeye Thursday night, but the Iowa fans still obviously brought, which I give credit to them. But no, yeah, obviously like you're talking about, this team obviously being able to only be down by 7, like you said, going into halftime was very huge because obviously being down double digits going into halftime was not the goal. Obviously, you didn't want to go down that much, especially being so defensive oriented too. I know I was part of the more scoring side of things instead of really playing more of the defensive side, but still being able to keep it within double digits, I'd say going to halftime was obviously integral in this, I know, and it ended up winning by 9. So
yeah, I feel like a big part of the first half as well, I know he didn't really score the ball well a whole lot, but Tamin Lipsey, his effort plays, I mean, to save some of the balls that he did from going out of bounds, just insane. Those effort plays, he was throwing his body around. He did what he had to do to get kind of those other plays, some things that aren't going to show up on the stat sheet. That's what TJ was talking about post-game too. That really kind of kept Iowa State in this game. He was able to facilitate, he was able to manage things, keep Iowa State in the game, and that really helped a lot.
Yeah, TJ obviously called him a superhero.
Yeah,
and
multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times, and even during this game, I know Tamin Lipsey, I think it was in the second half, kind of rolled his ankle a little bit. Kind of, you kind of feel that when you have a rolled ankle, and obviously he had to play through it. I think it was the last half of the game, obviously, but still, he was able to go out. Didn't obviously struggled in the first half, only attempting 3 3-pointers and didn't go in. But apparently in the second half, something happened during halftime where he's found a little bit of confidence in his shot and obviously hit those 3 threes that really helped his confidence grow on top of the hustle plays that he does. Going up for rebounds, going up for loose balls. Try diving on the floor, everything. And what he's done all season. He's been dealing with injuries. He's been injury riddled, and I know TJ said that most of these players of what he's dealt with, if they had to deal with what Tamin has dealt with, they probably wouldn't be playing or playing as well as he has. And what he's still doing, he's still making it work. And it's just unbelievable effort from Tamin Lipsey, and it just really showed. And obviously it meant more for him being the Ames guy going to Iowa City to break that 10-year curse.
You could tell how much Tamin cared about winning this game. Through the whole night, those plays that he was making, the fact that he, lost badly at Carver-Hawkeye last time. I feel like if you asked all the players on, do you want to win this game, he would have been the one that, would have won it the most, I think.
Yeah, and I think Curtis Jones said that after the game, too. It's he had a little, obviously he said
chip
it was
on
great
his shoulder.
Yeah, chip on his shoulder just being from Ames, obviously being there last time and failing to reach that or break that curse, but now obviously being able to get over that threshold is obviously a huge accomplishment for not just Tamin Lipsey, but this whole team, and TJ Otzelberger to finally be able to go to Iowa City, which has notoriously been known for Iowa State to be losing in. Now it's finally being able to break that streak, so it's just huge for just not only it's just huge for this team. Yeah.
And talking about Curtis Jones a little bit, he was his leading scorer again off the bench, 23 points. He had some crazy shots in this game. Yeah. The one that stuck out to me, there were 2 of them that did. Yeah. I think it was a buzzer beater, or not buzzer beater, but shot clock beater.
But, yeah.
I mean, he was shooting from Caitlin Clark range, and he drains it. At that point, I was kind of okay, Curtis Jones, I see you. And then later in the game, once Iowa State finally claws its way back, and he made a three-pointer that put Iowa State up by 5 points. Kind of like a heat check type three. Goes in. Game over at that point.
Yeah, I think
barbecue chicken,
yeah, and I think he also had that circus shot. I know Keyshawn Gilbert had that up and under shot.
Oh, that was insane.
That was
crazy.
That was a work of magic right there. But I think it was Curtis who had kind of like a circus shot kind of thing, which is crazy to see. I didn't expect the ball to go in from one of those shots, but yeah, Curtis Jones. I would say keep talking about him. He said fifth or sixth starter coming off the bench. I know he did play a lot. Obviously has and probably will be playing a lot more minutes than Milan, and just because of the way he's able to consistently be able to put the ball in the net. And that for plays he obviously does do on the defensive side too. So yeah, I mean, Curtis saved the day. He's the savior in Iowa City.
I think another part that's overlooked from Curtis Jones is his ability to rebound too. He grabbed 6 rebounds in the game. 5 of them were on the defensive glass, which when it comes to defensive rebounds, he was tied for first with Joshua Jefferson, as well as Keyshawn Gilbert actually. So it's good that he's able to contribute on both sides. When it also comes to rebounds, the leading rebounder was Joshua Jefferson, who had 10 of them. He also had another double-double because he had 19 points. So, again, we've talked about him before. He's the Swiss Army knife of the team. He's proving it week in and week out, and I think this is his 3rd game in a row with a double-double. He's doing what TJ said he could do, and he's doing it.
100%, yeah, and he's also 3 assists away from that triple-double mark.
Yeah.
7 assists, too, and obviously shooting the ball-wise, I'd say it wasn't the best. 4 for 10, 40% still not too bad. But then obviously look at the free throws, 10 for 12, which is what you want to see. Obviously, like we talked about the women's side, missing a lot of free throws. Joshua Jefferson's been one of those Cyclones who's consistently made their free throws when it counts at the most amount of time. So, obviously we keep crediting him a lot, and we will continue to credit him being that Swiss Army knife type of player for Iowa State. And obviously, best transition acquisition for sure.
Oh, 100%. He made a 3 as well, which I thought was pretty cool too. I like it when forwards are able to do that, do everything, scoring-wise, rebounding-wise, but when they can, shoot threes and assist the ball, that's what makes a good player to me.
Yeah, and that's like it seems like what we talk about a baseball player and a 5-tool player. It seems like Joshua Jefferson can do everything as a forward. Things like 6'8", 6'9", maybe 6'10", kind of that range. Bigger player, but still is able to do everything. Offensive side, defensive side, shoot the 3, be able to get a lot of steals. I know I only had one block as well, but being on the glass, I hit 5 offensive rebounds. You think he'd have more on the defensive side, but no. And that's just not even him. Just credit to the whole team. Also, you hit 18 out of their 46 rebounds were offensive rebounds, which is abnormal to hear.
Yeah. He did scare me a little bit sometimes, though. There are a couple plays I thought he may have traveled or double dribbled, but I digress. We'll let those slide.
Yeah, I mean the
officials are always right.
Refs didn't call him, so we just let him slide.
Exactly. Yeah.
Didn't call him, didn't matter. So
never ever question the officials.
Absolutely not. No, we definitely won't make any controversial takes on here about the refs.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. But then, kind of again, just overarching, looking at the game itself. TJ was talking about it. Post game, we were noticing it a lot too. Iowa State really trailed by like 5 to 6 points a lot in the second half. They could really get the lead close, and then Iowa would make a 3. Every time Iowa State was close to making it a one-possession game or getting close to taking the lead, Iowa always had an answer. And I bet it was starting to frustrate them because just minutes were going by. The clock was, ticking down and everything, and it's like we can't get over this hump. It was probably really frustrating to watch for them.
Oh, 100%. I think one of them mentioned how it's just like annoying how to keep looking up at the clock and seeing like how like every time they try and answer for something, they always see Iowa each answers back, but it's still trying to claw into a bigger deficit now. Right. So as the clock goes down too, so it's kind of I can understand the frustration right there, having to keep looking up and see like you keep trying and it seems like nothing's working, but finally Iowa started to miss their shots and return on the other side of the court with Iowa State making their shots and ended up, being not up at 66. And I know it kind of flip-flopped from there who got the lead. But then after, I think it was like 72 from there on, I think Iowa State was able to hold on to that lead for the rest of the game.
Iowa State's first lead came with 3 minutes and 5 seconds to go. They led for only 3 minutes and 5 seconds of the game. Like, that's nuts. I mean, I know that you only have to lead. You don't even have to lead a full second. You can make a buzzer beater right at the end to win. But the fact that they did that, I thought was crazy in itself. The fact that Iowa's a good team.
Of course.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Iowa's a good team. They will probably end up making the NCAA tournament. The fact that they were able to hang with the number 3 team in the country for that long is really impressive. They're a great team. But when it comes down to it, Iowa State proving that they can fight back from these situations, the fact that they can go on the road against a power opponent like this in a rivalry game and to win the way that they did, to play the way they did in those final 5 minutes, that is what championship teams are made of.
100%. You know, obviously, like we talked about, first off, credit where credit is due for this Iowa team. You know, they showed out in a big way.
Yeah,
you know, obviously, being at home, obviously, it feels at Hilton. I feel like I don't think Iowa would have made as many shots they would have as compared to being at Carver-Hawkeye. But nonetheless, you know, like you said, I do expect them to be in the NCAA tournament, not in the NIT. I'd be shocked, I'd say, if they make it to the NIT.
That'd be disappointing for sure.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, no, obviously, going back to Iowa State, this is a championship-level team right here. You know, obviously, being able to, you know, face adversity in so many ways. You know, obviously the Auburn game I feel like was the pinnacle just because of the fact how they had a big lead, kind of battled back and forth in the final minutes, and then obviously in the final seconds, you know, having that tip in by Johnny Broome to end the game right there. And, you know, they weren't able to try and go for the championship, which Auburn eventually did end up winning. And you now see they're above us in the AP polls. I think they're number 2 right now. Yeah, and then obviously you see what they did afterwards, Dayton, Colorado, and then Marquette being back home. So just this team has been on a roll right now. They've been able to face adversity in a multitude of different ways and just continues to get better. And I'm looking forward to see, especially with only 2 non-conference games left before heading to conference play.
When you think about it, this game really had a 24-point swing. Iowa State trailed by 13, and they somehow win by 9. Like, that's crazy. Like, I thought for the longest time Iowa State was going to lose this game. To win by 9 is insane.
Yeah,
that's just nuts. Also, I think it was the final, was it like 6 minutes, 6-ish minutes? Iowa really didn't make a field goal until like the final 30 seconds. They made 2 of them in the final 30 seconds, but they didn't matter at that point.
No.
Iowa State outscored Iowa in that time 20-8. That's where the game was won, those final few minutes.
Yeah, they literally like get 37 minutes worth of competent offense, and all of a sudden 3 minutes left. So like they ran out of gas, like straight up just stopped on the highway. So yeah, credit where Iowa State was able to pick up where they were able to drag on.
I like that we finally had a competitive men's Cy-Hawk game finally again. There have been so many blowouts in a row. This one was refreshing to watch. It was a fun game.
Yeah, it seemed like whoever was home got the advantage right away. You know, the crowd just took over, and that's how blowouts begin. Just from being able to get the crowd noise going, it messes with your head a little bit, and you kind of let the other team get a little bit away. So yeah, being able to do this, I know there was some Cyclone faithful fans obviously there, but really helped out at the end. You know, even they were like, it wasn't even full of Iowa State fans. It was kind of
like
just
a
like
third, 30% maybe.
Yeah, and even then it was still like near what the Iowa fans were when they were chanting and like screaming and stuff. Like the noise level is kind of insane. I think it might just be the structure of Carver-Hawkeye Arena, but nonetheless, you know, Iowa State fans really showed out. They made that 2-hour drive from Ames to go see them.
When they started the Let's Go State chant, when they went into their house and started chanting Let's Go State, like I knew it was over right there.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, it's a wrap. Iowa State's got it in the bag now. The fans showed out.
Final nail on the coffin type thing,
Yeah. So, again, just a really strong win for Iowa State. But then kind of speaking about, like, Carver itself, I know for us three it was, I believe, all of our first times there. For me it was, which is kind of crazy because I've lived in Iowa all my life. But I had heard about it before it's a interesting facility. And I think that unique is definitely probably the best way to describe it, the way that it's really just sunken into the ground. You kind of walk in and you're on top of everything. I think it's just a weird place.
Yeah, it's very different. Like I know I've kind of talked about it already. It's just very unique. Like I'd say Hilton is better, of course, but
I agree.
You know, just to be able to like be sunken in the ground. Like I know, but people have been saying like if you pass by, you might not even notice that it's there because you can just. It looks like kind of like a normal school building. Because I know Carver-Hawkeye and Kinnick are kind of on campus for Iowa's campus, so you know it'll just look like a normal like school building, maybe like an architecture building, something kind of really small. But when you get closer to, you can obviously see more inside the arena and then see that's sunken in the ground. So it's very unique in that aspect. And obviously, like I said, give credit to the Iowa fans for being very loud. It was one of the most deafening moments that I've been involved in a college game, football or basketball for sure.
Katie, what did you think about your time in Carver?
I have to say, like, the structure was definitely unique. I thought it was organized differently. Like, yeah, I agree with what Pavle said. Like, when we got there, I didn't really think I was in the right spot, just because it does look like a school building.
Right.
Like, it looks like a gym. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Like, when we got there, I was definitely a little starstruck, just because I knew Caitlin Clark and Kate Martin played there, and I love Jan Jensen. Like, that was really cool to see. But I was a little disappointed in our fans. We didn't really show up, I think, just because we knew it was going to be a tough game. I don't really blame them for not making the 2-hour drive. There was a little dibble-dabble of red here and there, but nothing crazy, which is a little surprising because we did so good that I thought maybe there would have been more people from Ames. But yeah, we kind of just didn't really execute our audience very well.
Yeah, so it sounds like I think the women's game probably had more fans in total, but the men's game probably had more Iowa State fans there.
Yeah.
That might have been the difference, honestly, in the men's
Maybe.
game of having those fans there.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think probably prices went into the factor of the women's versus men's. I think women's obviously was probably skyrocketing price compared to the men's.
Oh, they were a lot more,
yeah, because it makes sense. Top 25 matchup versus a number 3 team playing a decent Iowa team, but obviously
still
wasn't
unranked.
Yeah. Hadn't proven enough to be ranked yet, but yeah.
One of the things I think is interesting too, when you compare like Hilton to Carver, obviously Carver is just one level, just like all the way down. Hilton's the 2-level structure. So press row at Hilton is like that main concourse level in between the 2 sections at Hilton. But at Carver, it's weird because like you're literally like in there with the fans. Yeah. Like they've got like tables and stuff. I thought that was pretty unique. I enjoyed it actually.
I did too. I liked being closer to the court.
Yeah. They made it louder too, I think. I think that was kind of where that loudness came from.
Yeah, if we're higher up. Yeah.
You really got the full experience.
Right, because at Hilton, there's not really anyone behind us on press row because there's that gap up to the 2nd level. So there's not really fans on top of you there.
Yeah, you're kind of just in the concourse basically in Hilton, but then obviously in Carver-Hawkeye, you're like embedded like closer to the court, like you said, is help really the noise. And I feel like obviously if you're higher up, it will probably wouldn't have been as loud, but still like being in an enclosed space too, I feel like help kind of contain that noise and keep it bouncing around, which Hilton does too, obviously, which makes it loud. So
yeah, I think they're both very loud arenas when their teams are thriving. Those places get rocking. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it being there, just seeing it for the first time in person. I had heard a lot about it. People definitely have mixed opinions about it on whether they like it or not. I'm indifferent. I definitely prefer Hilton in terms of just structure, things that are there, the way everything's kind of set up. I prefer Hilton. But Carver's not bad. There's some uniqueness about it that I can definitely get why people enjoy going there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm right alongside you. I kind of see how, if I was an Iowa fan, I went to Iowa, it makes sense how I would enjoy being there. But obviously, being at Iowa State and favoring Hilton Coliseum, I do obviously favor Hilton Coliseum over Carver-Hawkeye.
Student section's a little different too, because at Carver, it's just like literally a wall of students on one of the ends, but at Hilton, it's both ends. That's
Yeah, I honestly couldn't differentiate like the fans and the student section. Like it was just all blended in.
Yeah, at Hilton you can definitely tell like which is which, because it's just the ends of the court basically. I don't know. Final thoughts?
It was a good time. Obviously for men's side, obviously being able to pull out the win was obviously crucial. But I feel like even though it would have went the other way, I think this team would have been admired for their fight in the game. But still, obviously better now that they left Iowa City with that win.
I had a great time. It was sad we lost. I do prefer Hilton over everything, but I really enjoyed the environment there. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got to go. Thank you guys again for watching another episode of the Daily Dish podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. If you were able to watch the Cy-Hawk games, cool. If you went to them, even better. Thanks so much for watching again. We'll have maybe another episode before break starts. We'll see. Finals week is this week, so keep the students in your thoughts. We're going to be struggling out here. But we'll see you guys next time. See you later.